If you woke up today and saw headlines saying that your immigration status in the United States might be in danger in 2026, and you felt that instant wave of fear and confusion, you are not alone. Thousands of people right now are asking the same question. What is actually happening? Is my visa at risk? Do I need to leave the country? Should I be panicking? Let me tell you right now, take a breath. Because what you are about to hear is the truth, based on facts, not rumors, not panic, and not clickbait. My name is Saqib, and you are watching Global Immigration Updates, where we break down immigration news clearly, calmly, and without the drama. If you are tired of confusing headlines and want immigration information you can actually trust, you are in the right place. So let us talk about what is really going on with United States immigration in 2026 and whether your status is truly in danger or if this is just another wave of misinformation spreading across social media. First, I want to address the elephant in the room, the word danger. When people see that word next to immigration status, it immediately creates fear. That fear is understandable, especially if you are living in the United States on a visa, waiting for a green card, or supporting a family member through the immigration process. But fear without facts is not helpful, so let us separate what is real from what is being exaggerated or completely misunderstood. As of right now, in January 2025, there is no single new law that has been passed by the United States Congress that suddenly puts all immigration statuses in danger starting in 2026. Let me repeat that. There is no emergency law that was just signed that is going to automatically revoke visas or deport people simply because the calendar changes to 2026. Immigration law in the United States does not work that way. Changes to immigration policy, especially major ones, require legislation to pass through the House of Representatives and the Senate, and then be signed by the President. That process takes time. It involves debates, amendments, votes, and public records. You can track every single bill introduced in Congress on congress.gov. If a major immigration reform bill were moving through the system right now, it would be visible, it would be debated, and immigration attorneys across the country would be talking about it openly. So where is this fear coming from? There are a few sources, and it is important to understand each one. First, every few years, especially around election cycles or changes in administration, there are renewed discussions about immigration reform. These discussions can include proposals to tighten visa requirements, increase enforcement, change eligibility rules, or modify pathways to permanent residency. Some of these proposals are serious, some are political talking points, some never make it past the proposal stage. The key is to understand that a proposal is not the same as a law. A campaign promise is not the same as a policy. A headline is not the same as a legal change. Second, there are ongoing enforcement priorities that shift depending on the administration in power. This means that even without new laws, the way existing immigration laws are enforced can change. For example, one administration might prioritize deporting individuals with criminal convictions, while another might expand enforcement to include individuals with no criminal history. These enforcement shifts are real, and they do affect people. But they are not the same as your status being in danger because of a new law. Your visa status is based on the terms and conditions under which it was issued. If you are maintaining your status, meaning you are following the rules of your visa category, you are complying with reporting requirements, you are not overstaying, and you are not engaging in unauthorized work, then your status is generally secure under current law. Third, there is a lot of misinformation being spread on social media, particularly on platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. People share posts that say things like, all work visas will be cancelled in 2026, or green card holders will be deported if they leave the country, or USCIS is secretly planning mass removals. These posts get shared thousands of times because they tap into fear. But when you actually trace these claims back to their source, they either have no source at all, or they are based on a misinterpretation of a proposal, a rumor, or something taken completely out of context. This is why it is so important to verify immigration information through official channels. Now let us talk about who might actually be affected by immigration changes in 2026 and what those changes could realistically look like. If you are in the United States on a non-immigrant visa, such as an H-1B, L-1, F-1, or any other temporary visa, your status depends on maintaining the conditions of that visa. For example, if you are on an H-1B visa, you must continue working for the employer who sponsored you, or you must transfer your visa to a new employer through the proper legal process. If you lose your job and do not find a new sponsor or change your status within the grace period, then yes, your status could be in jeopardy. But that is not because of a new law in 2026. That is how H-1B visas have always worked. There have been discussions in Congress and among immigration policy groups about reforming the H-1B program. Some proposals have suggested raising the minimum salary requirements, limiting the number of H-1B visas issued each year, prioritizing certain industries or skill levels, or changing the lottery system. These are all proposals that have been discussed for years. Some versions of these proposals have been introduced as bills. None of them have become law yet. If any of these proposals do become law, they would typically apply to new visa applications or renewals, not to people who already hold valid visas under the old rules. Immigration law generally includes transition periods and grandfathering provisions to avoid suddenly invalidating existing statuses. If you are a green card holder, meaning you have lawful permanent resident status, your status is much more secure than a temporary visa. Green card holders have the right to live and work permanently in the United States. Your green card does not expire in 2026 unless your actual physical green card document is expiring, in which case you simply renew the card itself, not your status. However, green card holders can lose their status under certain circumstances. These include committing certain crimes, abandoning residency by living outside the United States for extended periods without a re-entry permit, or failing to file taxes. These rules are not new. They have been in place for decades. If you are a green card holder and you are following the rules, your status is not in danger simply because the year is changing to 2026. If you are waiting for a green card through employment-based or family-based immigration, the biggest challenge you face is not a new law, but the existing backlog. There are millions of people waiting in line for green cards, particularly from countries like India, China, Mexico, and the Philippines, because of per-country visa caps. Some people are waiting 10, 15, or even 20 years. This backlog is a structural problem with the current immigration system, and it has been a problem for a long time. There have been many proposals to eliminate or raise the per-country caps, to recapture unused visa numbers, or to create new visa categories. But again, these are proposals. Until Congress passes legislation and the President signs it, the system remains as it is. If you are undocumented, or if you are living in the United States without a valid immigration status, your situation is more vulnerable, but not because of anything specific to 2026. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, known as ICE, has the authority to enforce immigration laws at any time. Enforcement priorities do shift depending on the administration, but the legal framework has not fundamentally changed. If you are undocumented, the best thing you can do is consult with a qualified immigration attorney to see if there are any options available to you, such as asylum, VAWA, U visas, T visas, or other forms of relief. Do not rely on social media for legal advice. Your situation is unique and you deserve accurate guidance. Now let us talk about what you should actually do if you are concerned about your immigration status. First, check your own situation. Look at your visa expiration date. Look at your I-94 record. Check your passport validity. Make sure you understand the terms and conditions of your current status. If you are not sure, write them down and ask a professional. Do not assume. Do not guess. Second, stay informed through official sources. The most reliable source of information about United States immigration is USCIS.gov, which is the official website of United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. You can also check the websites of the State Department, Customs and Border Protection, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement. These websites publish policy updates, guidance, and changes as they happen. Third, if you have a pending application with USCIS, check your case status regularly. You can do this online using your receipt number. If there are any requests for evidence or notices, respond to them on time. Missing deadlines can result in your application being denied. Fourth, if you are worried about your specific situation, consult with a licensed immigration attorney, not a notario, not a consultant, not someone on social media claiming to be an expert, a real attorney who is licensed to practice immigration law. You can find attorneys through the American Immigration Lawyers Association, known as AILA, or through your local bar association. Many attorneys offer consultations, and some offer services on a sliding scale based on income. Fifth, be very careful about scams. When people are scared, scammers take advantage. If someone is telling you that you need to pay them money immediately to save your status, or that they have a special connection to USCIS, or that they can guarantee you a green card, that is a red flag. USCIS does not work that way. There are no shortcuts. There are no secret deals. Everything is documented, everything is traceable, and legitimate attorneys do not make promises they cannot keep. Let me also remind you of something very important. Immigration laws and policies do not change overnight. Even when a new law is passed, it usually includes an effective date, which means it does not take effect immediately. There is almost always a period of time between when a law is signed and when it is actually implemented. During that time, USCIS publishes regulations, guidance, and instructions. You will have time to understand what is changing and how it affects you. You will have time to take action if action is needed. This is not a situation where you wake up one day and suddenly you are out of status because of a surprise rule. I also want to address something that I see happening a lot in immigration communities. People are sharing screenshots of news articles, social media posts, or even official-looking documents, and they are interpreting them in ways that create panic. For example, someone might see a memo from USCIS about increased scrutiny on certain visa applications and interpret that as all visas are being cancelled. That is not what it means. Increased scrutiny means that USCIS is looking more carefully at applications to make sure they meet the legal requirements. It does not mean that everyone is going to be denied, or someone might see a proposal from a think tank or a policy group and think that it is already law. It is not. A proposal is just an idea. It has no legal effect unless it goes through the entire legislative process. Here is my advice. When you see something that makes you worried, pause. Do not share it immediately. Do not panic. Instead, ask yourself these questions. Where did this information come from? Is it from an official government website? Is it from a licensed attorney? Is it from a credible news organization? Or is it from a random post on social media? What exactly does it say? Does it say that something has been proposed? Or does it say that something has been passed into law? Does it say that it applies to everyone, or does it specify certain categories of people? What should I do about it? Does it require me to take action right now, or is it just general information? If you are not sure, do not rely on strangers on the internet. Reach out to a qualified professional who can review your specific situation and give you accurate guidance. Your immigration status is too important to leave to chance or to rumors. Now, I want to be clear about something. I am not saying that immigration policy will never change. It absolutely can, and it does. Administrations change, priorities change, laws can be passed or repealed, enforcement can become stricter or more lenient. But change does not mean chaos. It does not mean that everyone's status is suddenly invalid. It means that you need to stay informed, stay compliant, and be ready to adapt if necessary. And that is exactly what this channel is here to help you do. Let me give you a few examples of what real immigration changes look like so you can understand the difference between rumor and reality. In 2017, there was an executive order that affected travelers from certain countries. It was immediately challenged in court, and there was a lot of confusion about who it applied to and how it would be enforced. But even in that situation, people who already had valid visas were eventually able to enter the country after court rulings clarified the policy. It was not a situation where visas were just cancelled overnight, with no warning and no process. In 2020, during the early days of the COVID pandemic, there were presidential proclamations that suspended certain types of immigrant and non-immigrant visas. Those proclamations were public, they were published in the Federal Register, they had specific effective dates, and they included exceptions. People knew what was happening and had time to consult with attorneys. The proclamations were also challenged in court and were eventually lifted. The point is, even when significant changes happen, they follow a process. There is documentation, there is a timeline, there is usually legal pushback, there is public discussion. You are not going to wake up one day and be told you have 24 hours to leave the country because of a secret new law. That is not how the United States legal system works. So, to answer the question that this video started with, is your immigration status in danger in 2026? For the vast majority of people who are maintaining their current status, following the rules of their visa, and staying informed, the answer is no. Your status is not in danger simply because the calendar is changing. If you are complying with your visa conditions, if you are filing your paperwork on time, if you are not doing anything that would violate the terms of your status, then you are doing what you need to do. If there are changes to immigration law or policy in 2026, and there very well might be, those changes will be announced publicly, they will be documented, they will go through a process, and you will have the opportunity to understand what they mean and how they affect you. That is why it is so important to follow credible sources of immigration news and not just react to every headline or social media post that comes your way. I want to remind you that immigration is a complex area of law. It is filled with nuances, exceptions, timelines, and procedures that are not easy to summarize in a single headline. That is why context matters. That is why details matter. And that is why you should never make major decisions about your immigration status based on a post you saw on Instagram or a rumor you heard from a friend. Always verify. Always ask questions. Always consult with professionals when you are unsure. Before I wrap up, I want to say something directly to anyone watching this who is feeling anxious or overwhelmed. I understand that living in the United States on a visa or waiting for permanent residency can be stressful. I understand that every news headline feels personal when it is about immigration. I understand that you have built a life here, and the thought of that being disrupted is terrifying. But I want you to know that fear is not a substitute for action, and panic is not a substitute for preparation. The best thing you can do right now is to understand your own situation, stay informed through reliable sources, and take the steps that are within your control. If you found this video helpful, I want to ask you to do a few things. First, subscribe to Global Immigration Updates and turn on the notification bell so you do not miss future videos where I break down immigration news clearly and calmly without the panic. Second, Share this video with anyone you know who might be worried about their immigration status. Help spread facts instead of fear. Third, leave a comment below and let me know what immigration topics you want me to cover next. Do you have questions about H-1B renewals, green card backlogs, asylum processes, family-based immigration? Let me know, and I will do my best to cover it in an upcoming video. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay calm, and stay safe.